Hey there, Sharon Horne-Ellstrom here. Let's talk about 5 steps to advocate for change to supersize your business starting today. Now, whenever you go through the 5 steps, I'm going to challenge you to go through these 5 steps today. I'm going to share the 5 steps and I'll share a person or two's story about how they applied this in their area. Step 1, identify something that matters to you, to your organization, something you're passionate about, where your strengths are, or just a cause that really you see it and it just rubs you the wrong way and you're like, this has got to change and nobody's doing anything about it. Guess what? You can be somebody. You don't have to be nobody. We all have the ability to impact and create and advocate for change. Number 2, educate yourself. Why do you want to educate yourself? We want to get the facts on what's actually going on. Sometimes we see things, we only see the little tip of the iceberg. We don't see what's really going on. And if we're going to advocate for change, let's change the root cause of the problem. Let's not just change the symptoms of the problem. Although we might start by acting upon the symptoms of the problem. Number 3, start small and local. Why? Well, number 1 reason I advocate for starting local is we can make the biggest impact there. We can start small there, and our local communities, our local environments, maybe just our company has a huge opportunity for change and growth and development, and it often doesn't get addressed. Why? Because we have so many other conflicting priorities. Number 4, use your voice and your platform to educate and share the changes that you've made or are advocating for and the results of the actions that you've taken. And 5, be consistent and patient. Why do we have to be consistent and patient? Well, because sometimes the first thing we try doesn't work, and sometimes we get a different result than we expect. Sometimes it works, but people aren't ready to see that kind of change happen as quickly as it happens. I went into a lot of corporate jobs as a change agent. Part of what I was hired for was to fix long-standing cultural problems in those organizations, and it wasn't always well received. And so I had to be slow in certain cases to move slowly, and other times we'd make big moves. But I always had to be patient to wait and see what the results of those changes and actions were. And I don't tend to be patient by nature. So it was a learning experience and a growth and personal development area for me. So let's look at a couple of people's stories that they have applied this process. I'm going to review the process one more time quickly and encourage you to try it today. Why today? Because there's no better time to take action than right now. So let's look at, I shared Denise's story. She's an advocate for accessible education for students with learning challenges and learning differences. I don't call them learning disabilities because my kids have learning differences, and they're both very, very intelligent, and my granddaughters are very, very intelligent, but I guarantee they're going to learn differently than the average kid, the average Joe, because there is no average way of learning. We've got this education system that's set up. Okay, obviously I was an advocate for change for this for a long time. We've got an education system that's set up to meet the needs of the average student. Well, guess what? Just like adults, children do not all learn the same way. So if you don't have a variety of teaching strategies and techniques, and if you don't use all of them, you're going to miss out on, and there are going to be kids that fall by the wayside. It's why the vast majority of children that graduate from high school these days cannot read. They cannot even freaking read. They're not being taught cursive. They can't sign their name. It's really quite sad. And I'm not going to share Denise's story because I've already lived it. Let's talk about Stephanie is an advocate for clean neighborhoods. Maybe your work environment is gross and you want to be an advocate for change in your company, in your organization, in your culture. And you want to get a group together to make it a more beautiful, more comfortable place for everybody to work. But I'm going to share Timothy's story with respect to business. He's an advocate for mental health in the workplace. And Timothy struggled with anxiety for years and realizes how many of his coworkers silently struggled with anxiety and stress and overwhelm too. So first thing he did was educate himself, which is the second thing. First, he decided something he cared about and wanted to change. Secondly, he educated himself. He read up on workplace wellness, talked to HR professionals, and participated in mental health workshops. Then, step 3, he started small. Timothy suggested a mental health hour for his company once a week, and he shares calming techniques in team meetings. 4th, use his voice. He offers to lead a short mindfulness session each Friday, open up about his personal journey with anxiety and in the internal newsletter, and encourages others to seek help without shame. And then finally, be consistent. Over time, his company adds an EAP, Employee Assistance Program. Not all of our companies have them. Some of my companies do, some of them don't. Depends on the size of the company, number of team members, etc. Hosts mental health days and recognizes, and the company actually recognized him as a catalyst for change. More than an advocate, he is a catalyst for change. So think today about what is something that bothers you or something in your company, because it's your company. You can be an advocate for change. Guess what? Leadership starts from the top. You need to be an advocate for change, right? So think of something in your company or in your culture that bothers you, and then educate yourself on it. Find out what's really going on. What are the facts? What's the root cause of it? Because if, again, like I said, if you're just putting Band-Aids on it, sometimes that can get you a little ways, but it's not going to get you all the way to the results that you want. Third, start small and local. Start at home, right? Kindness begins in the home. Banners begin in the home. Culture begins in the home. That applies to our businesses as well, because our businesses often tend to be where we spend as much or more time than we do in our personal homes. Fourth, use your voice and your platform. Guess what? If you're the owner of the company, you have a platform. You have a captive audience, and you can make a difference by speaking up. And then finally, be consistent and patient. Guess what? Even as the owner of the company, just because you say something doesn't mean it's going to happen overnight. I know, surprise. All right. I would love to know one thing that you would like to be an advocate for change for, or you have been an advocate for change for in the past. Obviously, I've been an advocate for change for learning differences for decades. If I can help you in any way, awesome. Otherwise, share in the comments below something you're going to advocate for change for, or that you already have today, so we can learn from one another. Have an awesome day, and I'll, of course, be with you tomorrow.